Well, hello, Nathan.
I think it's that time again where we talk about some awesome women.
Yes. Welcome to Queen's Podcast, everybody. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Katie, and this is my lovely co-host, Nathan. Nathan, how are you today?
I am fabulous. Everything's feeling great.
I love this for you. So, Nathan, who are we talking about today?
Yolande of Aragon. And who is she?
Who is she?
Who is she, though?
Who is she?
Yolande was a major player in the 100 Years' War between France and England as a well-known woman who's bankrolling this whole entire gal pal known as Joan of Arc.
Maybe you've heard of her. Nathan, tell us about this cocktail.
We are making the French 100.
Ooh, French 100. I love it.
So it's a take on the French 75, which is a classic drink that includes gin.
Ugh.
And I was like, me and Katie don't like
We're
gin.
not huge
So-
gin fans around here. Sorry, gin drinkers.
Yeah, sorry about it, but I made the French 100, which just substituted, it's a shot of vodka with a little bit of lemon, and you shake it up, put it in a glass, top it with champagne, and use a little bit of rosemary and lemon to garnish.
That looks delightful.
She's gorgeous, is she not?
She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's Grace. I love it. We really do need to just sit down and finally make that cocktail cookbook.
I know, right?
It would be such a cool, let us know if you would buy like a coffee table cocktail cookbook. We could do on one page the recipe, a picture of the cocktail, and then the next page we could do like a short biography of the woman that inspired it. So let us know. Let us know if that's something that you'd want. But
And we should totally disclaimer it with, please don't drink all of these drinks at once.
no, space it out.
One at a time.
Please
Read about the woman.
Please enjoy responsibly. Yes. On to the story. Yolande of Aragon. Nathan, tell us, when was she born?
August 11th, 1384, so she's a Leo.
Of course
which
she is.
I love a good Leo energy. She was born in Aragon, modern-day Spain.
Yes. Now let's go ahead and get something out of the way. In case you've never, if this is one of your first Queens episodes that you're tuning in on, ye old-timey Spain is a soap opera.
Preach.
We've seen it in several episodes that we've covered before. There's always fighting. There's always infighting. There's always fighting with other countries. And yeah, it's just always really dramatic.
And there are always inheritance disputes.
Yeah.
This is all relevant, we promise.
Yes.
But let's just meet Yolanda's family.
Yes. Her dad, King, was John the First, King of Aragon, and her mom was actually King John's second wife. Her name, she was a French princess. She was the granddaughter of the French king. Her name was Violante. Her name was Violante.
It was named Violence.
Yeah.
It was the 100 Years' War.
It's in French, so it's probably like violon. She was Mama V. Mama V was smart as fuck. Let me tell you what.
Yeah, and it's important to note that this is in the middle of the 100 Years' War against France
Yeah.
and England. And John, Team France, and Mom is French, and Dad is a complete Francophile.
Oh my gosh.
It's totally possible that her first language would have been French, not Spanish.
Yeah. If you see her name written down, it's spelled Yolande. And that's how she's always referred to in history. And so, I went on Twitter and I was like, Spanish speakers, how would you pronounce this name? Do you pronounce the E? And everyone was sort of like, well, that seems to be the French spelling. And I was like, huh. And the more I learned about her upbringing and how France was much more of an influence in her upbringing, it's I bet French was her first language. And that's why, and it probably was. So I found that interesting, even though they're in Spain. So that's a rabbit hole, weird little linguistic rabbit hole that I went down.
Oh, when Violante marries John, he has 5 kids with his first wife, but only one was still living, a little girl named Yolande.
Isn't that so sad? Like, to have, like, 5 kids and only one survive? But now he's gonna, like, repeat it all again, because pretty soon after the marriage, mom and dad start having babies on babies on babies on babies, but only one of them survive, and that's our girl, Yolande.
And sadly, dad wasn't really great at this whole kinging thing.
No.
He liked poetry and music and largely left a lot of the running shit up to his wife. Mama V held the title of Lieutenant Queen, which basically means she was running this shit.
I feel like that should be one of the names of our tiers on Patreon, Lieutenant Queen. I like that. Like, it's giving very, like, yes, sir. You know, like, kind of, I don't know, like, very militant.
I'm a Lieutenant Queen.
Yes.
Militant Queen.
Yes. So Yolande, because of this, Yolande saw from a very young age how women could yield power. You know, maybe not necessarily be the ones that held the title and the power themselves, but Mama was definitely the one calling the shots. And so, yeah, she saw that from a very young age, that women could, you know, be intelligent and powerful. Go figure.
Imagine that.
Huh.
You can raise a human being, so therefore you can raise an army.
Huh. Anyway.
Imagine that.
But I will say, in the grand scheme of things, mom and dad's rule wasn't super, super popular. During their time, Aragon lost a bunch of land. Land is money, you know, land is power. So they weren't super popular during this time. He was kind of viewed as a weak king as well.
Yeah, and the early years of Yolande's life wouldn't have been that noteworthy.
Yeah.
It said that her parents loved troubadour poetry and music, as well as fashion and parties. So she was probably introduced to a lot of that in her youth. But nothing really notewortty happened in her life.
Yeah. Do you remember in our Eleanor of Aquitaine episodes, we kind of talked about like the troubadour style. Do you remember in the Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood with the foxes? You know, the little chicken walking around at the beginning with the little guitar being like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. He was supposed to be a troubadour. So, useless facts. That's So, yeah, her childhood was pretty uneventful, pretty chill, until it wasn't. And a whole bunch of drama went down. What you need to know is that her dad has not named an heir. He only has 2 daughters, and he's still hoping that one of his sons will be born and, like, survive childhood. And so he hasn't named an heir, which is what we in the industry call a rookie mistake.
Yeah. Queen's podcast official stance is, you always name an heir.
You always name an heir.
Follow us for more practical kingdom advice.
Yes. One day King John went hunting and he fell from his horse and he died. I feel like something is missing in that story, but I couldn't find anything else. But it kind of sounds like to me like, oh, our king kind of sucks. And then he just goes horseback, like he goes hunting and falls from his horse and dies. And everyone's just like, oh no. Like it just doesn't.
Whoopsie daisy.
Doesn't that seem to you like maybe that should have been researched a little? Like what's going on here? Like, well, should we do like some cold cases? We should ask Tandy.
We should ask Tandy. Did somebody push him from his horse?
Did he fall from his horse, but then somebody, you know, like strangled him or something? Like, I was like, it just seems too convenient, but I couldn't find anything.
Oh, how convenient. And now it's time for the contenders of the throne.
Ooh, yes. Who will be the next ruler of Aragon?
In this corner, we have 11-year-old Yolande.
11.
She's a child. She's a girl. So, and I don't mean to say that so negatively, but this is going to be a tough sell to everyone else. Yeah. However, she has a mother who's been running the country as Queen Lieutenant for like 7 years.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
And then in this corner, we have John's brother, Martin. So, Yolande's uncle. Martin is a full-ass adult man who already has a full-ass adult son. He has a son that's 20 years old. So that means that there should be like a peaceful transfer of power. You know what I mean? Like because that's a big concern to people is like, well, what happens when he dies? If he's already got a grown-ass adult son, that puts him ahead in the race. You know what I mean? However, Martin is the regent of Sicily, and which we just really don't have time. But the kings of Aragon at this time kind of claimed to be kings of Sicily with little asterisks. Like, it's confusing. But he's over in Sicily putting down a rebellion there. So he is super occupied.
And if we didn't think that it was just in one corner or two corners,
we
there's
got three corners.
What? No.
What?
And in the third corner, we have Yolande's older sister, Joanna. And Joanna was in her 20s and was married to the Count of Foix. And so, yes, she's a woman, but she's the oldest surviving child. And she has a backing of a very rich husband.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Joanna had the best claim. Because, I mean, yeah, she's the oldest one, and it wasn't completely unheard of for a woman to rule in Spain if she had a husband who was, like, politically minded. So I honestly think she had the best claim, but uterus, you know?
Oh, it's just floating around.
It's just
makes her so stupid every time. She's thinking with her uterus, and how dare she?
Have you ever seen that episode of Parks and Recs where the Tom character accidentally shoots Ron Swanson's character, and Leslie pretends like it was her, and she's just like, "I like chocolate, and I'm bad at math." Like, I just. That's what I think. Like, every time when it's like, oh, but she's a woman, is what I think of. It's just like, she couldn't possibly run the country. She likes chocolate and she's bad at math. But yeah.
And because uteruses scare people,
they just floating around.
They don't know what they're doing. Oh my God, she's so crazy. The public opinion was anti-uterus in Martin's favor.
Yes.
Ironically, though, he can't come and hold down the fort right away because Sicily is having a little unrest.
Yeah.
And he decides to send his wife because, duh, a woman should.
Isn't that fun? Isn't that ironic? He sends his wife, her name.
Don't you think?
Her name is Maria de Luna. And she is cool as fuck. I don't think she has enough information to be her own episode, but I think she would make a great Patreon episode because she is really powerful in her own right. And you know how we have that thing that we're always like, we love this historical figure. And then we learn about like how they treated the Jewish community in their country. And we go, oh no, she's like the opposite. Like, I mean, she wasn't exactly making Jewish people like part of her like privy council or whatever, but she was like being like, hey, maybe we don't make them wear big yellow stars. Hey, maybe we don't kill them just because they're Jewish. Anyway, Maria de Luna, Patreon. What do you think, Nathan?
Oh, absolutely. And she rocks on up with a huge army and immediately squashes Sister Joanna's army. And to be honest, that's the last we hear of Joanna. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yep, she's done. And when Maria goes to kick Yolande and Mom out of town, Mama V says, "You can't do that. I'm pregnant." Dramatic music. Bum, bum, bum.
And Yolanda's like, "What? You are?"
And Mom is like, "Shh, shut the fuck up."
And most historians agree that this was a tactic. But we have no way of knowing that for sure. But the new queen then proceeded to lock Mama V and Yolande up in ye old dusty castle.
Yeah.
And then imprisons everyone who had ever been friends with Mama. So it doesn't sound
Tad bit harsh.
When you're good to Mama, Mama ain't.
Mom, no.
She ain't.
Okay, but Nathan, question. Why would it have mattered if Mama was pregnant?
I mean, that's the next heir. That's the next, like...
Because if she had had a boy, everyone else is out of the running anyway, right? Even if it's
Yeah.
if it's an infant, if it had been a boy,
It doesn't matter.
doesn't have a uterus, can it speak? No. It is our king. Yeah, like it.
It's so true.
Bag of dicks, bag of dicks. History is
a
bag of dicks. Yes. Anyway.
So after a few months, it became apparent that Mama was not going to give birth. And Yolande and her mom are kicked out of court.
Yeah, when we talk about adult Yolande, I feel like everything we just discussed is such part of like her formative years. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she's going to be hard-headed. She's going to take chances. She's going to have a flair for drama. And I feel like everything we just discussed in its own could have been such a cool little mini series. So there's a drama with her mama.
The drama with her mama
Yes.
keeps consisting.
Yes.
Because it's Mama against her, against the world.
Yes.
And Violante decides she's dedicating her life to educating her daughter. Like, these are the families of Aragon you need to keep your eyes on. And these are the people in France you can rely on.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you need to know about the English kings and everything before you're about to go into the 100 Years' War, because that's a whole thing.
I'm just imagining in my head, like, you know, like those, like montage, things in movies where it's just a bunch of clips of you like studying and like looking at a map and like, but in the background it's like, you better work, bitch. And just like of her like becoming like a political mastermind with her mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a second to think though. Yolande is 11. Everything that just went down, how would this have affected her? So like in 1 year, her dad dies. She sees every living relative she has basically fight each other and do just, I'm sure, say and do some nasty shit. And then she gets locked up in ye old dusty castle for like, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. And then she gets kicked out of the only home she's ever known. So like, that's rough.
This is some soap opera shit.
Exactly. That's like what I'm saying.
How you raise a villain.
Yes. It is giving villain origin story. 100%.
But y'all, she's 11 years old, and when you're a princess in ye old Europe, that is past your prime.
Ugh, getting up there. God, who would ever want her?
She's an old maid. Time to get her married, though. And the King of England comes knocking on heaven's door.
Yes. So this is the first time in several times in this episode where we are going to have some cross references. Longtime listeners of a podcast will remember whenever we did that Isabeau of Bavaria series. And so it's going to be like the first time that that topic and this topic intersects, because the dude that comes knocking on her door is a king of England known as Richard II. He's in his mid-20s and she's 11. So Nathan, what do we call that? 1 to 10, how gross is that? 14?
It's quite severe.
Yeah. But then the French king and French queen are like, no. And they swoop in. They're like, no. Marry our daughter instead. Do you remember this, Nathan? Then the English king, who's in his mid-20s, marries the French princess Isabella that is 8 years old. 8. I hate it here.
Because it's not going to make it better.
I mean,
Yeah.
there was like strict rule, and like we did a whole Patreon episode about this marriage and everything, and there were very strict rules in place about like, you cannot have sex with our 8-year-old, but you know what? That should never even be part of the conversation.
No, that seems logical.
Anyway.
So yeah, listen to the Isabeau of Bavaria episode and you know that whole story.
Yeah.
And if not, just please check it out, because this is not a fun time.
No, but their stories cross paths a lot. When Louis, Duke of Anjou's mom, sends Mama V like an email, just like, hey girl, what's up? You have a single daughter. I have a single son. You have so much money. I also have so much money. What if we put those monies together? You see where I'm going here? You see where I'm going here? Let's talk.
Gross.
I know.
Gross. But we don't fully have the time to go into it. But
yeah.
Louis had been crowned the King of Naples. But Aragon also had claim to Naples.
So confusing.
I really just don't want to get into
It's so confusing. Like, I did try. I was like, I want to understand this better. And after like an hour and I still didn't fully understand it, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so both of their countries have claim to being the ruler of Naples. Because if you look on the map, Anjou and Aragon, like if you're taking your boat to Naples, it's the same, like they're gonna cross paths, you know what I mean? And so it was like, let's just make like a peace treaty and just be chill about it and not attack each other in the water when the other one is trying to get to Naples, which I support. Hey, let's not attack each other.
Fair.
But yeah, at first Yolande was like, absolutely not. Hard no. She even like signs this document in public. It was like a whole ceremony of her signing this promise to not marry the Duke of Anjou, which I couldn't find more information on. Like, was that normal? Like what the fuck was that? Like, why? I couldn't find more information on that. I just thought that was fucking weird. But I have to wonder if maybe Mama V had been like, no, don't marry that guy. And she's just like, you got it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. History? Probably. But then her Uncle Martin, a.k.a. King of Aragon, told her no. She went kicking and screaming to their first meeting, and then she abruptly changed her mind when she met him.
What? Let's speculate. Let's pull on up to the speculation station. Why do we think she changed? Maybe he was hot.
Maybe so. And maybe she's like, wait, what, huh?
Yeah, or maybe she was just like, I don't actually have any say in this anyway, so I may as well just do it. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's probably more likely the standpoint.
Either way, once she actually met him, she changed his mind. And, yeah, they were married in the year 1400. Yolande was 15. Louis was 22.
What? Barf.
But, I mean, we've seen worse. At least she's not 8 and he's 28. You know, we've definitely seen... It's not like Margaret Beaufort where she's 13. Because, I mean, 15 is obviously, in my scholarly opinion, too young to get married. But at least by then, like, maybe you've hit puberty. Or, like, you know what I mean? You know, like, we've seen worse is what I'm getting at.
Yes. And Yolande is now the Duchess of Anjou, Countess of Maine, Countess of Provence, and Countess of Piedmont. And depending on who you talk to, sometimes she's also the Queen of Naples.
Yeah. So that's not
a bad resume.
That is not a bad resume. Okay, cool. So we have set her up where she is sitting pretty, being very powerful, being very rich with a whole bunch of titles. I think I need to take a quick break and top off my drink before we go on. What do you think, Nathan?
Me too.
Yes.